I've seen a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes, definitely.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
To cover up our mistakes.
I've met people who swear they've seen Bigfoot.
Join us for a journey into the obscure.
You are now listening to The Wow Pod.
All right, welcome to the show.
Welcome, welcome. So,
let me start this off from my perspective. My darling sister sent me a video to watch.
oh,
A video
it was eye-opening.
of a crazy person talking about other crazy. It was crazyception. Crazy, and put a mirror on one side of a tiny hallway and a mirror on the other side of the tiny hallway and look into either one directly. And it was crazy, just into infinity. And
yeah. Okay. So today we are going to unpack, so to speak, this whole Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, cult, missing kids stuff. It's all been kind of funneling in through piecemeal, just a little of this, a little of that, and then we know this, and now we know that. But now we have a pretty clear picture of both whence it started and how it kind of came to fruition for these two shitheads. Because you know what 2020 needs? A good old prophecy.
oh.
Because we haven't had enough. We haven't had enough for 2020. So we're gonna talk about Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell cult today.
Should we go through his prophecies first?
Let's start with our weird news.
We'll go
Give
through his
people
prophecies.
an opportunity to join. Hi, Christy. We're gonna let's do our. Hey, Corey. We're gonna do our weird news first. Let's get that out of the way. The fun stuff. So I'll go first.
Okay.
Mine. This is a little older. I think 2015. But this story is the stuff nightmares are made of.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of that scary movie. What's his name? Not Ace Ventura.
That was pretty scary.
But that 13 where he wrote all the letters on all the numbers on the
yes
stuff.
Yeah. So here's how the story goes. On the 15th of April, I found a yellow Post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk, reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about it. So he gets up in the morning and he finds this Post-it note, and it's on his desk, and it's got all these errands like pick this up, go here, do this. He says it wasn't in his handwriting, so he thought, well, that's odd. But he chalked it up to something he did, maybe half asleep, half awake. Maybe it was an old note that just ended up there. Thinking that in his half awake state he scrawled it, it didn't appear to be his handwriting because of that. He threw it out and thought little of it. 4 days later, he finds another Post-it note on the back of the desk chair. It's in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling him, it says, make sure I saved my documents. So it's speaking like it's a different person. So he was like, what? Because now it's no longer, save your documents, but make sure I saved my documents. So he was a little freaked out, but there was no other signs of a break-in. So he set up a webcam and aimed it at the desk and used this security cam app for it to record, any time it detected movement, it would turn on and record. And on the 28th, he woke up to find another Post-it note. This one said, This is what would be scary. Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do. So immediately, he sees this post note.
Do you think he's starting to think that he's got that split personality stuff? And he's starting to wondering, how would
Yes, our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do.
They've got that television show, United States of Terror, that was out years and years ago.
Yes.
Wow.
Where she's got all those multiple personalities.
Yeah, the one that's a Vietnam vet with his nuts blown off.
Okay, now that was a pretty funny show. It was kind of...
But it was enlightening, I guess.
So he's like, okay, so I've got this webcam. I'm just going to go check it. So he immediately checks the webcams folder on his computer, and he finds nothing from the night before. But he notices that the recycling bin on his computer, which had documents in it the day before, had been emptied. He's like, I did not do that. So then May 1st, he finds another Post-it note, this time on the outside of the door with nothing written on it. And it also appeared to be Post-its on many other doors in the apartment complex, all blank in varying colors. They were just put all over the house. So he puts it out onto Reddit and is like, do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for these stupid Post-it notes, but those are written by my pen and they're my Post-it notes. So conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me into any trouble? I mean, what do I do about this? Because at this point he's like, okay.
I just spurred right out. I would have freaked out on myself.
Yeah, something's happening. And someone in this Reddit forum, someone in this Reddit forum may have actually saved his life because they took him serious and they were like, okay, you seem sincere. This doesn't appear to be, a plot that you're creating. If it's not possible that your landlord is leaving notes, then the only other context might be a mental health issue, kind of pointing out like, you may have a split personality. But he says there is also a narrow chance that you're not getting enough ventilation when you sleep, and there may be a carbon monoxide leak in the building. You should buy a cheap CO detector. So he buys this CO detector, and as soon as he plugs it in, off the charts.
Oh, man.
So he's literally being starved of oxygen at night while he's sleeping. And he's writing notes like, he won't let me talk to the landlord and we really need to.
See, that sounds like a scary movie. It sounds like a possession or a ghost. Holy cow.
So, and one person puts the probability of joining these two people together, one with the problem, the other with the ability to pick out the details. This is what Reddit is really about. The power of this app is insane. Because can you imagine, had they just not taken him seriously, had him, instead of the very first response, instead of that, it had been like, yeah, you're nuts, dude. You need to...
You stupid guy.
Yeah, we know you're just doing this for
stupid
attention.
Punk.
Yeah, like, he was literally being poisoned.
Imagine where his notes would have gone, though. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, anyway. Interesting story.
Yeah, well, I've got a story.
Okay.
So, searching around on the internets as I do to...
interwebs.
Yes. So, off of New Jersey yesterday...
Yeah.
A humpback whale. A humpback whale come up out of the water and knocked a boat over and kicked the guys out of the boat. So all you whale watchers, Betsy freaks out when she hears about this. So the whale was breaching the water on Monday off of Seaside Park.
No.
And it collided with the boat and sent the two men in the water. Now, it says the two men were not injured.
My worst fear.
Just had to climb back onto the boat before it was beached. But that is that is freaky. There's a little video to go along with it, and it'll probably have 7 minutes of ads as they do. So
close encounter with the whale off the Jersey Shore. A little too close. Eyewitnesses say that whale.
I wish they
reached the
had a
surface
video
and
of it.
landed on a
All
small.
right. It's
Yeah, a video of it actually happening for those of
Yeah.
us who, don't currently need counseling but will after that.
Could you imagine? You're just out there fishing, minding your own business as you do,
It's a
and
leisurely day.
a whale says hi.
We went to a whale watching tour off the coast of San Diego, and it wasn't majestic. It was absolutely terrifying. They just tally these boats up right next to these giant swimming. They're like the size of an air freight. They're huge, like an airplane. They're that big, and they just tally up next to them. They're like, yeah, over the starboard side, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's the things nightmares are made of.
Yeah, that would be
No,
that'd be freaky.
yeah. So today's main event,
Oh,
we're going to unpack what we know, which is actually it's like a lot now about Lori Daybell, or Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow Daybell. 'Cause, they're married, but and the cult that it really doesn't have a name. They're just calling it the Daybell Vallow cult, as far as media goes, but maybe we can come up with something more catchy. But you're seeing some pictures here. He's been taken into custody.
She's been in custody for a while, and he just barely got taken in, right?
Right. So I'm gonna talk dates, and we're gonna unpack this. We're gonna learn who's involved and how did we end up where these two kids.
She's been in custody because it was her two children. One was
Correct.
17, one was 13. Is that right?
7. He turned 8 while he's been missing.
Okay. All right. So that's insane. Now there's a picture of the kids up on the screen right now. So they're young. Now the one girl, she was going to BYU, Idaho.
That's
or
the
something.
that's the story.
That's the
but,
story.
Yeah, she disappeared
Well,
before she was ever enrolled there.
Yeah, she was never enrolled there. But the story that mom told all the friends was that she got her GED early, so she just tested for her GED, didn't graduate, and then went to BYU, Idaho. How old was she again?
17.
17. Okay.
So I'm going to take you back a couple decades. 1992, Lori. Well, first let's talk about Lori, because Lori in high school, first of all, she competed to be Miss Texas.
Okay.
She was a cheerleader. She was bubbly. She was outgoing. She was raised extremely strict Mormon.
Okay.
Her parents, everyone, extremely strict Mormon. Just after high school, she marries for the first time in 1992. And that marriage, we don't know much about it other than it really didn't last long. So she's married in 92, divorced in 93, married for the second time in 95. And during this marriage, she has her first son named Colby.
Okay.
Colby Vallow. She's divorced 3 years later in 98, 3 years later.
Okay.
And in 2001, she marries Joseph Ryan. And her and Joseph Ryan have her second child, who is Tylee. Now, Joseph adopts Colby from her second marriage.
Okay.
So he officially adopts Colby.
So she marries a guy.
2001. This is her third marriage.
Her third marriage. Well, no, her first marriage, divorce.
First marriage, no kids, ends in divorce.
Okay. Second marriage.
Second marriage, one son, Colby, ends in divorce.
Ends in divorce.
Third marriage, one daughter, Tylee, and then he adopts, his name's Joseph, he adopts Colby from the second marriage.
Okay. Now, wasn't this third marriage? That was okay.
Yeah. So then they divorce in 2004. So about 2.5, 3 years.
Okay.
They divorce. Then in 2006, she marries Charles Vallow.
Okay.
Now, Charles has 2 children from a previous marriage.
Okay.
And then at this point, Lori has Tylee from her previous marriage and Colby from the marriage before her previous marriage.
Mhm.
So together they have 2 children from his and 2 children from her. Now, Lori has a brother named Alex Cox because Lori's maiden name is Cox.
Okay.
So her brother Alex, about the time she marries Charles Vallow, so in 2006-ish, early 2007, they're all living in Springville, Utah.
Okay. Okay.
He takes off. Oh, no, excuse me. At this time, they're all living in Arizona, in Chandler, Arizona. He takes off. He tells everyone that he's going to Texas to handle family affairs.
Now, who is this? Her brother?
Alex, her brother.
Okay.
He's going to Texas to handle family affairs. Now, it's found that, according to his arrest record, that soon after he arrived in Texas, he went and found her ex-husband, Joseph Ryan, Tylee's dad.
Okay. That's the 17-year-old.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's her third husband. So her brother goes and finds her.
Lucky number 3.
Lucky number 3, and he assaults him. He tases him twice and threatens to kill him.
Okay.
Now, he's sentenced to 90 days in jail and goes to serve his time. He's found guilty of this crime.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to serve his time. Now, while in jail, a friend of his has come forward and said that, this lady friend of his, that he had sent her letters, and she's turned them over to the investigatory affairs that are handling this right now, but he had sent her letters asking her to send postcards with Joseph Ryan's, that's his sister's third husband.
We need a flow chart.
I know,
Goddamn.
with his address and license plate on it. And then in another letter, subsequently, he's like, oh, and see if you can get some pictures of him because there's some guys in here that would love to hang out with him. So he was still trying to get him killed from jail.
Oh my gosh.
So
he's trying to hire people to kill
yes.
her lucky number 3.
Yes. Husband number 3.
Okay. Go on.
So 2014, she's still with Charles. So at this point, they've been together like 8 years. 2014.
She made it 8 years.
I know.
Good job.
Charles' sister Kay. This list of people is going to.
I know. I need to bring that whiteboard over here and start writing and make a family tree.
So Charles' sister
Shrub.
Kay takes in her grandson JJ, the other missing child. Now
that's the little 7-year-old number.
Yes.
Okay.
So JJ is diagnosed with autism.
Okay.
Soon after his grandma, Kay, who is Charles Vallow's sister.
Okay, hold on.
So Charles Vallow is married to Lori.
Okay.
And his sister. So my granddaughter, if it were you and I in this situation.
Okay.
His sister Kay takes in her grandson JJ.
But how is that a granddaughter situation where isn't she the mom?
No.
How do we?
It's her daughter's son.
Okay, so did she just? So
She
it's
took
Lori
him-
Vallow's daughter's son.
No, it's Chad or Charles Vallow. It's his sister Kay,
Charles Vallow, which is her husband.
which is Lori's husband.
Okay.
His sister Kay
His sister Kay
takes in her grandson, her own grandson,
takes in her own grandson, which is this little guy.
which is JJ. Now she finds out that JJ is later, he's diagnosed with some pretty severe autism.
Okay.
And she's concerned that she's not going to be able to handle him. So that's how he comes into the custody of Charles and Lori. Is Charles then steps up because everyone says he was a great guy.
Chuck probably is a nice guy.
Yeah. So Charles takes JJ from his
Okay.
sister and says, okay, we'll raise him. And they actually formally adopt him. Lori and Charles adopt JJ.
So that's not her natural born
No.
son, but okay.
So 2014,
I'm glad it didn't get weirder.
same year, they move to Kauai and they take Tylee and JJ with them. And while in Kauai,
Hawaii?
yes,
Okay.
they operate this business. It's like a juice bar. It's like a froyo juice bar thing.
Okay.
And it was there that Lori was introduced to a writer named Chad Daybell.
So
She
it was
finds his
there
books.
they met?
No.
Or no, she just found his books.
She finds his books and she's obsessed.
Now, okay. Now this living on the edge of heaven.
Now, that's a new one. When she first finds his books, he was writing these LDS dystopian fiction is basically what it is. It's the end of times. And his most popular series at the time, and still is Standing. It's called Standing in Holy Places. It's a 5-book series.
Are they fictions?
Well,
Or are they written as prophecy?
okay, pull up the Amazon
Okay.
Standing in Holy Places
Standing.
and read what it says the description is.
Okay. Well,
'Cause this'll give you
so continue on to the story.
This will give you an idea. So she finds these books. She's out searching and she finds these books and she becomes obsessed with them. Now, Chad is a writer known for a series called Standing in Holy Places. And she turns all of her attention onto these books. She's buying them for her friends. She's telling people about them. Oh, look at this. It's so great. Chad at the time is married to Tammy. Now, together, Chad and Tammy founded Spring Creek Book Company. And this is where he would publish his books. So if you read, this is one of the Great Gathering. So
this is book 1.
Yeah, so just read what it says, the description.
In the near future, Tad and Emma North and their children live in the United States that is growing increasingly wicked. The Norths and their extended family notice that many Latter-day Saints are being deceived by alluring temptations, and they wonder how much longer the Lord will allow American society to continue its downward spiral. Then comes an invitation from church leaders for the saints to gather together. This invitation isn't well accepted and even openly mocked, but those faithful church members who trust in the Lord soon find themselves accomplishing monumental tasks. Join these humble yet heroic saints as they embark on an unprecedented journey to build New Jerusalem.
So he basically, from everyone who knew Chad, or knows Chad, I guess, still, because he's still here, he's a doomsday prepper, and you could often find him recording podcasts on a podcast called Preparing a People podcast. Now, they have since deleted
Say that again.
Preparing a People podcast. Pick a
Jeez.
peck of pickled peppers. They've deleted all of his episodes. And if you look at their page, like step 1, it says, we are not associated with Chad Daybell. We are in no way connected to him. Like they have distanced themselves from him since everything started coming out.
Well, I can only imagine.
But Chad, if I can just tell you about Chad claims that he has had 2 near-death experiences and hundreds of visions. Now, Chad is, from all accounts, reserved and quiet, and people just adore him. To this day, there are people, well, not to this day, but perhaps till yesterday, there were people, and we'll get into why things have changed overnight, but there were people who were just saying he could never do this, he would never do this, he's the greatest guy, he's, a visionary. They truly believe he's getting these visions. So he was a missionary for the LDS Church. He was also raised very LDS. And he claims that due to these near-death experiences, he's got one foot in the spirit world and one foot in the physical world.
What was his near-death experiences?
So he had a couple. One was a car accident.
Okay.
But from everything I've heard or listened to, it's believed that both of them were made up.
See, my hope is that his next one is a ruptured hemorrhoid in prison that he almost bleeds to death with. Or
yes,
let's think of other good ones.
So he believes
abscess tooth that gets punched out of his head. That'd be a good one.
So him and Tammy have 5 children together.
Tammy's his wife.
Yes.
I need the family shrub. I need to build that because I am lost in the people. They have made a people salad and I can't piece it.
Chad believes that his 5 children will all have strong roles to play in the second coming, the rapture.
Okay.
That's happening. Here's what he claims, and this is why that I'm hesitant to introduce this to the year 2020.
Oh boy.
Because
this is the part that freaks me out.
He claims that the end of world will be brought on by earthquakes, hailstorm, floods, fire started in inner city disruption, and then the U.S. government will require humans to receive microchip implants. And finally, for the coup d'etat, the U.S. will be invaded by Chinese and Russian forces with the help of the UN. And he claims...
Just a week ago, a Chinese national was caught coming into the U.S. with counterfeit money. Which is an act of war, flooding the market with money of the other country's currency.
Yeah. So in June of 2015, so at this point, Tylee and JJ.
Now that's the kid and the daughter.
Yes.
The daughter and the boy.
The 2 kids and Lori and Charles are living in Kauai.
Okay.
At this time, Chad tells his wife, Tammy, that he has received revelation. He heard voices telling him to move to Rexburg, Idaho. That's Zion.
Rexburg, Idaho. Okay.
It's
lovely up there.
And what he does is he buys a house in Salem, Idaho.
Okay.
Which I'm guessing is close to Rexburg.
Probably an outskirt.
I don't know. Tammy then becomes a librarian, and Chad continues writing. He still owns the publishing
Tammy's
companies.
his wife.
His wife at the time, yes.
Is it his first wife?
Yes.
Okay.
So, 2016, Lori and Charles moved the kids from Kauai to Chandler, Arizona.
Okay, so Lori and Charles left Hawaii.
Bring the kids back from Hawaii.
And go back to Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
And Chandler is an Arizona kind of Mormon town.
Yes.
I do know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 years later, Lori's ex-husband, Joseph Ryan, who is Tylee's dad, the one that her brother Alex tried to get killed.
Texas to kill.
He's found dead.
Okay.
And his death is not really suspicious. It's a heart attack.
Okay.
But they have him cremated. So now we'll never know if it was actually a heart attack. They just figured, given his age, he was in his late 40s, that he likely just had a heart attack.
Okay.
So no autopsy, no nothing. The body's cremated. Now this is April 3rd of 2018. Now, December 5th of 2018, this is the moment where these 2 worlds come screaming together.
Okay.
Preparing a People podcast booked Chad and Lori on the same day.
Oh. And then.
Yep. So they book them together. Chad and Lori meet one another.
Can you
now
feel the love
Chad apparently tells Lori, and this is not uncommon because everything I have listened to and read about Chad, this was super common for him. Chad tells Lori upon first meeting her, he's he's just so brash. He's so forward.
He's got the moves. I'm telling you, this
He
is the
tells
move.
her.
Next time I go to the club, I've got to try this out.
He tells her that they have been married many times before, and that in the pre-existence, they were married. And Lori apparently was like, wow.
No more what's your sign. That's out the window.
Yeah. He was just
No
like,
more lame pickup lines.
just straight up.
You walk right up to the girl.
I've married you before.
You see her across the room.
Other planets, other existences.
You walk up,
We
you
were
take
married.
her gently by the hand, and you go, we've been married 5 times in past lives. Look deep into her soul to have a crazy, cheesy smile while you do it. I swear to God, this guy's freaky looking to me.
Yeah. Okay, so
He
doesn't
looks like he's trying to push like a 1989 Subaru up on me.
but he doesn't look anything like that from a side profile. Pull up the side profile. The one in the blue t-shirt right there. It's like,
yeah, well, it looks like he
look.
did some exercising.
Well,
You know,
they were taken not that far apart. Anyway.
maybe it's the head on, but look at her picture here. She looks she looks awful rough there, but here in this one,
Yeah.
she looks really pleasant and nice.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the hair, you know.
I don't
And then
know.
you look at this one, she looks like she didn't kill 4 husbands.
So 2 months later, 2 months basically following Chad and Lori meeting, Charles files for divorce from Lori. Now, in the documents, which are public record, you can read that he says Lori was threatening to kill him. She stole $35,000 and she is claiming to be the reincarnation of God. Quote,
Hold on. Reincarnation of God?
Yes. Listen, a translated, I don't understand that wording, but this is her exact quote, a translated being who cannot taste death, sent by God to lead the 144,000 into the millennium. So that's a teaching. That's a teaching.
I didn't know God was ever carnated down here to start with. I thought he
don't
just
know.
made the place.
I don't know. I don't know, but there is a teaching deep within the hollows of, I'm guessing, Christianity.
Yeah, it's
Not necessarily LDS, not necessarily any other, but
that's where the Jehovah's Witnesses get their number from as well.
right, is that there will be 144,000 of all of us. Y'all, you better be watching your P's and Q's. That's
Now,
a pretty small number.
Is that 144,000 of all humankind that's ever existed, or just alive at that time?
Alive at that time, you're called up.
Okay.
So,
Because I was going to say, if they pull 144,000 out of the, let's just go since Christianity started of the 2,000 years.
like a tiny little blip. Of
It may
people.
not even touch any of us alive now.
So Charles then also demands that she, go and get a mental evaluation based on this information, because they're raising kids together. She has kids, he has kids. He's as concerned about Tylee and JJ.
Oh yeah. Now I've got a question, a side note. If one was married and inclined, where do you buy a straitjacket?
I don't know. So,
and do you have a choice in buckles? Can you go brass or stainless, for accessorizing said sweater you want to buy for your crazy spouse?
I don't know. So right after he files for this, she apparently goes and does it. And she clears. She's fine. Everything's fine. Now, she likely didn't go in there and say, listen, I'm the translating being. I'm the translated being who cannot taste death. I'm the reincarnation of God. I'm sure she went in there and was like,
went in there, jumped up on the couch.
We kind of had trouble. Yeah, she didn't Tom
Like-
Cruise it. So she then vanishes. 58 days. Gone.
Uh-huh.
Leaves Charles and the kids. She's history. During the time that Lori is gone, as we kind of marry up all of the information that's coming in, it's been reported that Chad was talking to his friends saying that he had received revelation that his wife Tammy was going to die.
Okay.
So she's gone 58 days. During this time, Chad's receiving revelation. We'll get into how he receives revelation because there's an interesting interview I sent to Jared of a very dear friend of Tammy's or of Lori's that given an interview, kind of an insight into how Chad receives revelation. But at any rate, during this time, he's receiving revelation that his wife's going to die. Now, after Lori returns, Charles calls off the divorce. Now, it's unsure why he calls off the divorce. He's not here to speak for himself. If it was a threat that something was going to happen to the kids, or if he really thought that they could save their marriage, whatever it was, he calls off the divorce. We do know that he withdrew his divorce. Now,
are they sure it wasn't her dressed in an overcoat with the fake nose and mustache on at the divorce courts?
I don't know, but I'm going to...
She's got an ID with her fake nose and mustache glasses picture on it.
I'm going to introduce more players into this. So
oh, son of a bitch.
Strap in.
Okay.
2 months later, so Charles withdraws the divorce.
Okay.
2 months later, a new couple of people come into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie, who is Lori's niece, and she's married to a guy named Brandon.
Melanie and Brandon.
Now, Melanie files for a divorce from Brandon. Brandon goes on Facebook and makes this really long post about Melanie's new religion, that it's the reason that they're getting a divorce, and it's her Aunt Lori's cult. Melanie and Brandon's divorce goes through. It's a big, long, drawn-out battle. And Melanie joins Lori in Arizona.
Okay, so the cult is kind of centering in Chandler at this time.
Yes.
Okay.
So Charles, at this point, realizes, I mean, this is in June of 2019, so this isn't that long ago, but he realizes, okay, this isn't working out. They separate again, and he takes off.
Okay.
Now,
he leaves the kids with crazy pants?
Yes, and he's paying for the house. He's a successful businessman. He's paying for the house for Tylee and JJ and Lori, and he takes off. So a month later, he shows up to do his visitation. So July of 2019, Charles goes to pick up JJ. Now, Tylee wasn't going to go because she was kind of getting older and, didn't want to go hang out with Dad, whatever.
Yeah, ice cream with Dad and the annoying little brother?
Right, but JJ is 7. He's a little guy. So Charles goes to pick him up. And when he gets there, along with Tylee and JJ and Lori, is Lori's brother, Alex. Alex is in the house. Okay. Now, Alex shoots Charles during what he claims was a domestic violence dispute. So the way Charles claimed it happened is that Tylee came downstairs and had a bat in her hands, and she was going to protect...
The daughter
yes,
came downstairs with a bat.
She was going to protect her mom from Charles hurting her mom.
Okay.
She was going to try and stop a domestic dispute between her parents. And that Charles grabbed the bat and swung it at Alex, and Alex shot him and killed him.
Okay.
Now, the
That's
police...
the way Alex explains it.
That's the way Alex explains it.
How did the daughter explain it?
That's iffy because it was right after this that she disappeared.
And she couldn't be interviewed without crazy pants lady being there.
Right. So
how many marriages again?
This is 4. Charles is 4, Daybell is 5, but we're not to Daybell marriage yet. At this point, she's just separated from Charles. Charles gets killed. Now, the police rule it self-defense. You can watch the body cam footage. She is laughing when the police come to talk to her about it. Like, she's laughing in the body cam footage.
Gosh.
She's like, yeah, it was just like this. She's not even close to being upset. She's just not. She's not. So the very next day, because remember, Charles has 2 other children.
Was her brother in on this cult?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Martyrdom.
And we'll get into that when we cover the other witness.
Look, Jake. Jake is his name?
Alex.
Alex, you got to take one for the team because
He did.
your godly sister
He did.
desires to fornicate with my voice on earth, the prophetic one.
So the next day, Lori sends a text message to Charles' kids saying, and I quote, "Hi, boys. Sad news. Your dad passed away yesterday."
That's what the crazy pants said? Your dad passed away, not,
That's what she sent to his kids, his surviving children. She didn't even call them. She sent a text message. And literally, because JJ has a service dog with his autism.
Okay.
He's needed a service dog. It's helped him to kind of acclimate to.
I'm a service person for a dog.
You are a service person. So Lori then calls, shortly after this, she calls the service that provided JJ the service dog and says, "You need to come pick up this dog right now." And they're like, "Well, is something wrong?" She's like, "Charles got shot."
So the dog was for the kid.
Yes, but
But Charles got shot, so the dog's got to go.
Correct. So then, we're going to be moving fast. Okay, so
Holy shit.
7/19, Charles gets shot. 8/10, so August 10th of 2019.
So less than a month later, JJ's grandma spoke with him on FaceTime. He was allowed 35 seconds. She got to see his face, and then that was it, 35 seconds. What kind of torture were these kids going through?
Can you imagine?
Well, the daughter's probably already gone because she doesn't show up after the shooting,
Correct.
but once.
Correct. So August.
And the 7-year-old boy who has
autistic.
autism, who is he's just probably in a cloud being tortured by Captain Crazy Pants. Holy shit.
Well, and we also find through all of the investigation that Lori had stopped filling JJ's medication that he needed to kind of level things out. So he was probably completely manic.
Oh.
She had stopped filling it like 9 months before his last known whereabouts.
Oh.
So early August, Lori then moves her kids and Alex and her niece Melanie, they all moved together to Rexburg, Idaho.
Yeah, so she can be with her.
They all 5 move into this same complex. Now,
complex or compound?
It's an apartment complex, and they kind of live right next door to each other. So,
oh, look, new neighbors. Oh man, those poor bastards that live there too.
So Tylee was then seen the first couple of weeks in September. She was seen probably the first week of September is all by neighbors. They report seeing her. Now, none of them can say for sure when and exactly how long. It wasn't
mom wearing
right
jelly bracelets and whatever teen girls wear. What do teen girls wear nowadays? Whatever they wear. It wasn't mom wearing that stuff, a sideways ball cap,
But September.
Like me dressing up like Tucker to throw people off scent.
And they also said that they saw JJ a couple of times. So the kids did make it to Rexburg. And on September 8th, so they moved to Rexburg the first week of September. September 8th, police can see by way of phone records that Alex, Tylee, Lori, and JJ's phones. Now, we have to make this distinction because we don't know who has the phones, but their phones all went to Yellowstone for a day trip. Now, I do remember briefly hearing on the news that they were looking in Yellowstone, and this is likely what tipped that off.
God would like to see one of his most beautiful creations on earth.
Yes.
I recognize. I'm sold. I am sold.
Okay, so
or one of her most beautiful creations. God, it was wrong of me to infer gender upon
That's right.
the Lord.
You assumed the gender. So investigators get search warrants and they go through Lori's iCloud. And they do find photo proof of Tylee in Yellowstone Park. And they know this because it's recorded date and time and those kinds of things that iCloud has saved this. But they don't see any recollection of JJ there. However, the school that JJ was attending, the elementary school, said that he was marked in attendance on September 23rd, 2019. And that was the absolute last time that anyone saw or heard from JJ. The very next day, Lori unenrolled him, saying she was going to homeschool him. Now,
Perfectly legitimate.
That's September
Perfectly
23rd.
sane.
He's seen in school. September 24th, she unenrolls him. October 1st, Lori signs a contract with Self Storage Plus in Rexburg.
Okay.
Now, you can pull up the surveillance of this. It's telling. Surveillance shows Lori and Alex visiting the unit 9 times in October and only 1 time in November. The items that they were bringing, you can visibly see, are kids' bikes, kids' toys, kids' storage cubbies, boxes with books and things in them.
All the stuff that kids would need in
day to day. Now.
So she's taken Jake is the little guy, right? JJ. Too many names. And I'm drinking because I can't face this sober.
She's unenrolled him.
So she take JJ off of his meds that helped him
about 9 months before
cope, and he's probably having rougher times every day.
And then she got rid of his dog.
She ditches his support
and then his dad
dog.
got killed.
Yeah, his dad got killed attempting to slay the Lord. And then she moves them
to
starts
Rexburg.
ditching their comforts. Not much sightings of them about this time. Now, is she seeing Chad a lot during this time?
Yeah, so we'll get into that because all of this will come together as we learn about what they were speaking about in private. This is just the timeline. In one particular footage, it looks like Chad also went with them to the storage unit.
Oh, so he's in on it. Must have been moving something heavy.
Well,
there
is footage.
The Lord incarnate on earth is still restricted to the strength of a 40-something-year-old or 50-something-year-old
woman,
blonde, 5'3" woman.
In one of
them,
you can see them struggling to carry in these very heavy containers that are not later found. They're carried in, and then you can see them taking them back out later.
So they carry them in,
and you can.
And then a couple days later, they pack them out.
I've watched
once the smell of decay or whatever starts to overtake the storage units, and the people of the storage unit are like, "Why are you storing, animals in here?"
Alex is carrying them, and I've watched the footage. You can visibly see him struggling to kind of lumber his way out with these heavy containers.
Oh.
The next day, so 10/1.
Okay.
October 1st, Lori signs a contract with self-storage. October 2nd, Gilbert, Arizona. Remember her niece, Melanie?
Okay. No.
Lori's niece, Melanie, who divorced her husband, and he went on Facebook and was like, well, she's joining her aunt's
crazy
cult.
Person. Okay.
Yes. He is in his driveway. He pulls into his driveway.
The husband of the nephew-in-law.
Yes.
Ex-nephew-in-law.
Lori's niece's husband.
Twice removed.
He pulls into his driveway,
mm-hmm.
and he says he hears something whiz past his head, and it shatters his car window because his door's open. He's getting something out of the car. It breaks through his car's window and then lodges itself in his garage wall. And he turns around, and he says to the police, in his statement, he says, there's a guy standing with what looks like a paintball gun. And he's got a mask on, so I don't recognize anything because he's masked and he's got a paintball gun, it looks like. But he recognizes the Jeep. The guy jumps in a Jeep and drives off. And he's like, I recognize the Jeep. That Jeep belongs to Charles Vallow, Lori's dead husband. So he turns it in.
Alex is out and about in the Jeep.
Except it can't be Alex. Because Alex, that very day, was at self-storage on their surveillance. So they've got someone else working with them, driving Charles' old Jeep.
Another cult member.
Yes. So Brandon believes he's next. He goes into hiding. He takes his kids and he's like, I'm done.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are crazy.
Yeah, smoke has been popped.
He goes into hiding. 7 days later, 1 damn week later, I read the report myself because I just needed to see. Tammy, Chad's current wife, calls 911. Here's what she says. She had just gotten home. She parked in the driveway, and as she was getting stuff out of the back seat, a guy just appeared in a ski mask, and he was suddenly standing at the back of my car. He was holding a paintball gun. He shot it at me several times, but it appeared like he couldn't get it to work, and I yelled for Chad, so he ran away.
She yelled for Chad?
Her husband.
The husband that's the voice of the Lord?
The Lori's boyfriend, her side piece, yeah.
No, he is the voice.
No, well,
she is the Lord.
Okay, I see.
He's the voice of the Lord. He's
well, Tammy doesn't know that this is all going on. So she again reiterates it.
Or
It looked like a paintball gun.
Believe it.
Yes.
How could she not believe it?
Now, October 10th, a payment went from, just to kind of keep us all in line, a payment went from Tylee to her brother Colby on Venmo. And I think that at this...
Tylee's the 17-year-old girl
that's missing. And I think it's because her brother was saying things. He was trying to get a hold of Tylee, trying to get in touch with Tylee, kind of recognizing that there was something missing, something was going on. So he receives a Venmo payment on October 10th. And the little note that you can put with Venmo says, "We love you." No, he doesn't hear anything from her. He's calling. He can't get through to her. October 16th, he gets another one sent. He's like, I don't understand why she's sending me money. I'm out on my own. I've got my own thing going. The only thing he can think is that his mom was trying to prove that she was still alive by sending money out of her account. October 19th. So October 9th, Tammy gets a drive-by shooting. The gun misfires. October 19th, Tammy goes to bed with a cough and never wakes up. It's that fast, people. 10 days. 10 days later, Chad says it was her time. That's what he put. She's 49 years old.
Oh my
They have 5 children together. His family all got together and adamantly declined autopsy based on religion, and she's quickly buried.
Okay. So he says because...
He goes on Facebook.
Because the Mormon church doesn't... But the Mormon church is fine with autopsy, but he claims that...
It's desecration of her body.
Okay.
So
because they're going to find cough killer...
Something.
Whatever.
Now, Chad is an author. Remember that. He's a writer.
Mm-hmm.
His Facebook post is so cold and so disjointed that everybody notices. All of his friends are like, something is wrong with this. Like, they don't get it. On 10/25, Tylee's friend sends her a text message and sends it to her phone and says, hey, we haven't talked to you and I'm getting calls that people are looking for you and blah, blah, blah. To which she gets a response back from Tylee that says, hi, miss you too, love ya. So her friend is immediately like, this is not Tylee. Somebody has her phone. Somebody is pretending to be her.
I don't know what teenagers talk like, but...
Okay, so Tammy died 10/19. 2 weeks later, Chad and Lori get married. A wedding in Hawaii.
Okay.
Chad
Back to the start.
Chad tells his family Lori has no children. Straight up.
Well, not anymore.
She has no children. Lori is telling people that Tylee died years ago.
The teenage girl that she's
Yes.
sending fake messages that she's telling other people is enrolled at BYU, Idaho.
Yes. Now, Chad receives $430,000 in life insurance from Tammy's death.
Okay.
11:26. We are moving fast now. We are like moving fast. 11:26. Police go to Chad and Lori's residence in Idaho to conduct a well child visit because JJ's grandma has not talked to him since August 10th. She's had enough. She's like, I want to know he's okay.
So she calls
They're
the
not
police.
answering. They're not, returning any messages. I'm calling the police. She calls the police. They do a well child visit. Here's
welfare check.
a welfare check. Here's how this ends up. They arrive at the apartment complex. Chad, who is now married to Lori, they'd already been married in Vegas.
I just want to note the incarnate of our Lord and her Savior lives in an apartment complex. Just like a fascia.
Humble.
I imagine, I'm going to say brown brick, white banisters. Let's go 3 stories. Apartment number 12. Alex is in 11, and someone else, her niece, rents 13. Just so that they, good God.
Okay, here's how this goes down. The cops show up for a welfare visit. Chad and Alex are outside. Chad acts as if he doesn't really know Lori that well. No, I don't really know her very well.
Who this lady?
Chad, her husband is like, I don't really know her that well. And he tells them, I don't even know her
Now, he has
number.
property in Washington, right?
Salem, Oregon.
Or in Salem, Oregon. Okay.
So he tells her, I don't even really know her that well. Alex says, yeah, that's my sister, thinking probably that they already know. And he tells the police that JJ is staying with his grandmother in Louisiana.
Is that the one that called?
Alex, that's the one who called for the welfare visit. So the cops are like, excuse me?
Uh-huh.
So they find Lori later that day. And Lori says, no, JJ's with my friend in Gilbert, Arizona.
And that's the lady we watched the interview of.
Yes, that's the lady we're going to cover in just a minute.
And
her whole account. So the police are like, something isn't adding up.
Okay.
They directly go that night. They get a warrant to search that apartment.
Uh-huh.
They get a judge to sign it that night.
Uh-huh.
They show up the next day, 11:27. House is empty.
They cleaned out.
They've moved.
The Lord has left his apartment.
Now, 2 days later, so they move out of the apartment in Rexburg. Alex, everyone. 2 days later, apparently this is where they went on their way to wherever. Alex marries a lady named Zulema in Las Vegas.
So they
leave Rexburg,
drive
burn to Las
down
Vegas.
to Las Vegas.
Yes.
So that Alex
gets married to this lady named Zulema.
Okay, hold on. We can bypass the funniness of the name for right now.
Are you ready for what she is?
Prostitute. No. Secretary at that Elvis wedding chapel. No.
She is, according to her LinkedIn profile, an unconditional love coach. She also is a doomsdayer and has many powers.
So she is a part of this cult. Where was she from?
I have no idea. She just showed up.
God damn.
It was like an arranged marriage. Then 2 days later.
This is like, I don't know, 7-hour-old green concrete. It's so thick.
Yes. So 2 days later, November Still November. Alex gets married on the 29th.
And this is just last November.
Yes, this is recent. Alex gets married on the 29th. On the 31st, Melanie marries a guy. Melanie is Lori's niece. Marries a guy named Ian in Vegas. Same trip. Now, Ian also had just barely been divorced. So I'm guessing if they
it's got to be like an online cult thing.
What if Ian was the paintball shooter?
Oh, shit.
Because Alex was on surveillance. Chad was at home. Could have been Ian.
That or there's another paintball guy out there. Just for any of the cult members that are listening or watching at this time, we are located in Los Angeles, California. The address is 555. Go fuck yourself.
So, December 1st, 2019, police verify that Chad and Lori flew from Las Vegas to Kauai.
Okay, so they drove to Vegas, the whole gaggle,
All of them. And then brought two more people with them.
The whole cult. And two other people came in to join the cult to get married in the Elvis Chapel, because if a cult needs to get married, you want Elvis to do it. And then from Vegas, the Lord and the Lord's prophesier hop on a plane and go to Kauai. Okay.
Yes.
And they're already married at this time.
Yes.
But this is their honeymoon, I guess.
Apparently.
Okay.
Now, they've checked the manifests. There were no kids on the flight.
Okay.
So the kids are not with them. There's been a break in where the kids are. 5 days later, the friend who we're going to go over her testimony.
Okay. Goss or something? Goff? Gibb.
She contacts the police. She can't take it anymore.
Well, yeah, because Lori
spills her guts, and she's like, listen, they asked me to not talk to you. They said that I needed to be their alibi, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they want her to pretend she has the kids.
Yes.
So, like, take pictures at a park saying, me and the little guy are at the park today.
Yeah.
Or me and the little guy
movies.
are at the movie and things like that.
So police then contact the police on the island, and they put on they start monitoring their comings and goings just to make sure that they're not attacking citizens unfairly. They're making sure that they don't have any kids.
They're doing their due diligence.
Yeah. So they're following them around, and no kids, and they're checking things and no kids. They never see any kids. 12/11/19, the FBI.
On my birthday.
All the time, we're still working on an open case. They exhumed Tammy.
The wife of
Chad that passed away in her sleep.
Okay. Now, you said earlier that Chad was a grave digger?
Yes.
At one time, he was what's the proper name for that nowadays?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it would be, but he was a grave digger back in the day.
We've got a cousin that does that. We need to ask him. There's got to be a better word for that.
So they exhume her body and they submit it for testimony. Now, the day after they exhumed Tammy's body, Alex, her brother, and his new wife, Zulema, have left Las Vegas, and they're living in Gilbert, Arizona. Alex is found dead on the floor in his bathroom.
Okay.
They think it's a heart event.
A heart event?
Yes.
And where is Zulema?
She's still there.
Okay, good.
8 days later, on the 20th of 2019, the police finally announced to the public that they believe that this is a missing child case, and they're asking for the public's opinion. Now, this sets off an outcry like I've never seen before of support for Chad and Lori. Lori's family literally are on the news saying she would never do anything. I can't believe you're doing this. Blah, blah. Chad's family totally standing behind him. The other people that they worked with, other authors are stepping forward saying he would never do this. The kids are just being protected. You need to let them have their freedoms. It's this coming together. Everyone comes together in their defense. January 3rd, they get through the holiday. January 3rd, the FBI goes to the property with a warrant. and they took 43 items: computers, cell phones, journals, documents. They found 60 burner phones.
What?
60.
How?
What are you doing?
How many dollar stores does it take?
To get 60 burner phones.
How many dollar stores does Rexburg? Well, okay, they drove to Vegas.
So it's moving fast now. 2 days later, on the 5th of January, Colby, her oldest son, puts out a YouTube video. I tried to watch it. It's really sad, but he's begging his mom. He literally tells her, and I quote, "You can bring this situation to a safe end."
Is that this one right here?
Yes. "You can bring this situation to a safe end. I just want to talk to them. I hope that they're okay, but if they're not, you can end this for all of us." On the 7th, so January 7th, Kay, who is JJ's grandma, they hold a press conference in Rexburg, and they announce a $20,000 reward for the kids' return. So we're kind of just seeing this, it's just clipping along. January 25th, Chad and Lori are located in Hawaii. And they are served because they're kind of bouncing around Hawaii. So they're bouncing around the islands. They're not staying in Kauai. They're kind of bouncing around. So they are located and finally served with an order from Madison County Prosecutor's Office. This order states that by the end of the month, January 30th is their last day, they are required to physically produce Tylee and JJ to the Idaho Department of Welfare. Now, they gave them many outs, and I'm glad that these idiots didn't take them. They said, take a picture of them like holding up a newspaper with today's date.
Well, they couldn't take them.
No, but Photoshop, people.
Yeah,
you could Photoshop anything.
I've seen CSI. They pick through Photoshop. It's nobody's business.
At any rate. So they served them with this. On the 26th, the very next day, law enforcement pulls over Lori and seizes her rental car. Inside, find the kids' birth certificates. They find Tylee's bank card. That's how they know that she was the one sending the money.
Oh, yeah.
They find JJ's iPad. They find his school registration from the last time he attended school in Idaho. So then they go and they get a search warrant for the apartment that they had been staying in. And in this apartment, they find absolutely no items that would belong to kids. No, nothing. No shoes, no pants, no anything. So now they've proven without a doubt that the children are not with them on the island. Now, January 30th comes and goes. Lori fails to comply with court order. February 3rd, East Idaho News visits a storage unit. Now, this storage unit is the one that they had all the surveillance from. At this time, the storage unit is unpaid. So, this savvy news guy talks his way into it. Inside, they find kids' bikes, personal items, all the kids' stuff, but absolutely, that's it. There's no containers that you could see them taking in. All of that's gone. It's just kids' stuff.
So all the kids'
belongings.
Comforts.
Well, all of their pictures, everything. February 20th, police arrest Lori. They arrest Lori in Hawaii on 2 counts of desertion and non-support of dependent children, resisting or obstructing officers, criminal solicitation to commit a crime, and contempt of court. Now, Chad is questioned at the time, but he's released because, which I don't understand, because Chad, well, no, I guess I do, because it was Charles who adopted JJ. So Chad doesn't have any true dependency. These kids aren't really his dependents. So they arrest her on these bunk charges.
But because they don't have the bodies.
Because they don't have the bodies. They can't do anything else. So Chad is questioned but not arrested. Now, there was a big push to get her extradited back to Idaho where she could stand trial for this, and she fought that tooth and nail. Eventually, she did make it back. June 8th, 2020, this is just a couple days ago, a warrant for search of property was executed on Chad Daybell's property. Now, his 5 children.
Up there in Salem, Oregon.
Idaho. Salem, Idaho.
Salem, Idaho.
By Rexburg.
By Rexburg.
His children were all living there on this farm.
How old are these kids?
They're adults. They were all living there, but the police showed up and said, "You got to go. Don't come back. This is a crime scene." And if you look at the overhead videos, it appears as though they had pinpoint accuracy where to dig.
Almost like someone might have.
Almost like someone may have tipped them off. We don't know that part of the story yet. Sadly, they recovered human remains. And then we found out earlier this morning.
At first, they'd only covered one.
Well, they just human remains. They weren't sure if it was one or two or separate. So then we found out this morning that there were 2 sets, and it was just announced this afternoon that they were both children. So it is assumed, until DNA comes back, it is assumed that they are the children. So sad freaking time of events. It moved very quickly from, they didn't.
Oh, hold on. We may have lost our feed for a minute. Maybe. I don't know. All right, keep going.
It's not like they had known each other for a really long time. This course of events took place very quickly. From the time they met till the time the children disappeared was a extremely short amount of time in anybody's.
Well, the whole event, not just that, but they went around massacring spouses in a matter of months.
So there was an interview with one of Chad and Lori's best friends, arguably their best friend. Her name is Melanie Gibb, not to be confused with Lori's niece, Melanie. It's totally different. Melanie Gibb. Now, Melanie Gibb has finally decided to come forward and speak out. And what she brings to the table is the craziness. Because if you think that what you haven't heard already is completely bananas, just wait. We're just getting started. She goes on to first talk about Chad. What was he? Who was he? And she is the lady who ran the PPPPP podcast. Yes.
The preparedness and
preparing
in
for a
polyester
or I don't know. Yes.
Pac-Man.
So she knew Chad pretty well.
She would go to his talks. His he would give talks, like
symposiums
and stuff about the end of days and everything else. And she would go to those.
Yeah.
And Lori was her friend.
Yes.
And it was at one of those talks where they first come face to face the first time.
Yeah. So Chad, as explained by Melanie, he never really proselytized in a group, but instead would connect individually with people and give them little nuggets of information.
What, he didn't want to throw out batshit crazy ideas in front of an amphitheater? He wanted to make sure it was one-on-one so he could feel his way through this.
Yes.
Like he could say something crazy like, earthquakes are coming. And if they went, oh, yeah. And there's going to be strife in inner cities. Oh, yeah. I mean, by the 7th or 8th
taking context
thing,
clues
he'd be
to
like,
see how they're receiving his information.
You're supposed to kill your spouse so that you can marry one of mine.
She goes on to say that she still absolutely adores him to this day.
Yes,
now,
and Lori. And we'll get into what she says later because she is, you know what? I would dare say that she's the craziest part of this whole story.
So Chad often starts his conversations with people saying that he knew them in the pre-existence or he knew them in another life. That's what he does. Like, he owned this publishing firm, and he hired this secretary who I've listened to her interview as well. And she was like, yeah, day one, he was like, oh, I know you. I could feel your soul. I've known you in a pre-existence. And because it was an LDS, publishing firm, that is not new to the LDS. They believe in a pre-existence. They believe that all of this was preordained. That is part of their doctrine, that there is many lives or pre-existences to this. So he finds it in his wheelhouse to just do that to these people. Now this Melanie lady says, the guy interviewing her's from the news, and he's like, how did you take that? And she just says, well, I was open to all of the ideas he shared. I just was open, and, you just try and find out about things. No, it's wackadoodle. He's wackadoodle. Chad and Lori then buy all their phones. This is where the burner phone comes in. I don't know why they need 60. I don't know what else he was using them for. Perhaps there were many Loris out there. I don't know. But Melanie says that she never knew how to get a hold of Lori once Chad and Lori got together, because they had all of these different phones that they were juggling. Now, Melanie had
It looked like your husband at a fair. That's what it did look like.
Yeah, when he's being my Sherpa,
Yeah.
and Grace's Sherpa.
The phone Sherpa.
So Melanie's watching this relationship kind of blossom between her friend Lori, who is married with 2 children, and her friend Chad, who is I think we're live.
Yes, we're back. Okay, so after the collapse of the computer, because I'm the guy who opened up too much at once on a computer that isn't. Yeah.
So
wasn't up to it.
Basic tenets.
If anyone, we'll chat for a second before we continue. I want to see if someone will come on and let us know where we kind of lost our feet at. But yeah, so it all crashed on us.
It all crashed.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story. This is a crazy story.
It's insane. And the rough thing is these people believe what they're doing. This lady, Lori Vallow, believes that she is God. She's in the courtroom giggling and like looking at the judge like, you can't judge me. I am the final judge. And this other Chad, he thinks he's
smug,
the messenger of God, or the
like he's receiving visions, and he's a visionary, and the people around him, as revealed by Melanie, believe it as well. She still to this day believes that he's a visionary. She also believes that
Gib lady.
Yes. She believes that the adversary has just taken over his visions, but he's still a visionary.
Yes. She thinks she was a member of, she wasn't a full-blown member of their cult. She wasn't yet.
She hadn't killed her husband.
Killed her husband yet.
I don't think.
What if she got familiar with driving Jeeps?
Oh, God, I don't want to think about that.
She seems like your average Mormon lady.
So if I'm going to go back to my timeline kind of stretch, right after Chad and Lori meet, they reveal to everyone else in the group that they were the head of the 144,000.
So 142,000 after them.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, all along this whole saga,
how many were in their cult?
We don't know. It was so loose.
There
could be hundreds of them.
Is it a bad time for a single guy to get into a relationship, do you think?
Here's the problem with their cult.
Because you might be, you know what we should do, dear? What's that, honey? We should go to Vegas and get married by Elvis. Because
here's the problem with nailing down the cult, because the tenets is basically the gospel of LDS, the Latter-day Saints. It's like the zealots of that religion kind of leak out into this religion. That's where he was pooling from.
Yeah.
He wasn't pulling people off the street and starting from the top. He was taking people that strongly believed, temple-going members, and him and Lori continued to go to the temple the whole time.
Let's talk about their temple marriage that they had. So in the LDS church, you go before your church leaders and get a temple recommend every so often. And then you go into the temple and do temple stuff. Now I have not been to a temple.
In order to get a temple recommend, you have to be practicing the religion, and you have to be paying your tithing.
Yeah, you've got to meet what they want. But these two got their temple recommends and then went into the temple. And what did they just tuck in a quarter and say I do to each other? Because they claim that they got temple married in the temple.
Now,
but
here's what they
I
say.
imagine the church would not have just
it's not recognized,
Yeah.
because they say that others from the other side of the veil actually performed the temple marriage.
So
now Chad had gone so far he created a list of all of the apostles of the 144,000. It included movie stars. It included the lives they'd lived. It included where they'd lived, what planets they'd lived on.
He made a
genealogy,
a crazy person flowchart.
Yes.
What movie stars did he pick? Is anybody of note?
Now, they claimed, Lori and Chad, when Melanie pushed them further about this temple marriage, like,
how did you
you're both
do it?
still married.
Yeah.
Here's what they claimed. It was okay because they had been married so many times before that their spouses would one day, in the beyond life, the whatever comes after
in
this,
the next life,
they would understand.
Not just understand, but
they would approve of it.
Yeah, approve and celebrate it.
Yes. Now, Lori claims to her friend Melanie that she has lived on 21 planets.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Chad,
Perfectly
not
sane.
to be outdone. No, I can imagine how this conversation went. Lori's like, yeah, I've lived on 21 planets. And Chad was like, oh, yeah, I've lived on 31. So he's lived on 31 planets. And one existence, he's had 5 lives on this earth. They both had 5 lives on this earth.
Yes.
Chad, in one of his existence, was a Holy Ghost.
Okay.
It's this exaltation of self. What we're seeing here is this righteous obsession and exaltation of self. Now, Chad, at one point, after him and Lori's still with Charles. They're not divorced yet, or maybe Chad's still with Tammy, and Lori and Charles are separated at this point. Because, mind you, Lori and Charles never actually got a divorce. Charles died.
Yeah.
So Chad goes to Lori's closet, of course, and he makes her a portal. And it is explained to Melanie that this portal, Melanie's the friend of these guys.
The semi-sane-ish lady.
It is explained to her that this is a way for them to interact spiritually when they can't be together physically.
Yeah.
So Melanie's buying into this.
Oh, hook, line, and sinker.
She's like, and portals are a real thing because that is something that is common in our religion.
Chin deep in
But she says, I've come to find that portals are of the devil. So not that dude's making portals, he can't make a portal, but just that they're from the devil.
Uh-huh.
Now, Lori at one point seems to be kind of questioning Chad because she actually says to Melanie, if Chad is a Satan, he sure is a good one. So I'm guessing she started to kind of sense these doubts, but for whatever reason doesn't back out.
If the cops were to have let them be out on their own maybe 2 more months, we'd have had another dead body. We'd only have to prosecute one person. But then we couldn't. Yeah. Then they would blame the children being dead on the other. So
I think we're going to see.
I don't think this would have worked out.
I think we're going to see that transpiring anyway.
Yeah, so, this is totally going to go.
When Lori moves from Arizona to Rexburg to be with Chad, she had received revelation, and she told Melanie about this, that she needed to go. Now, Chad still has a wife and 5 kids, but Chad's wife, Tammy, according to Lori's revelation, would be dead before she got there. She would die by a car crash.
Yeah, that was the...
Yeah. Now,
maybe it was
that didn't turn out. They didn't pan out.
Maybe it was a Hot Wheels pushed down her throat.
When she arrives, Tammy's alive. And so Melanie is like, well, what happened? To which Chad says, it's because of other people's choices.
Yeah.
They changed the course of fate. Now, about a week after, this is where shit gets really weird. Strap in. About a week after, Lori and the kids arrive in Rexburg to be with Chad. They move into the apartment complex. Alex is in one, and Melanie's in one, and Lori and the kids are in another.
Melanie's the niece. Alex is the brother. Now, was Alex Melanie's dad?
No.
Or
no, Alex
was Melanie's like younger brother or something?
Yeah,
he looked like a young guy in his pictures.
Right. So about a week later, Melanie, her friend Melanie, not the niece, her friend
Melanie Gibb?
Yes, goes to visit them in Rexburg. Upon arriving, this is really going to get weird, people. Lori tells Melanie that the day before she got there, that JJ had turned into a zombie.
Yeah. Now let's go through this zombie stuff real quick.
Okay, and
now
she cites things that he's doing, like, look, he's doing that. That's zombie-like. He said this. That's zombie-like. Now, this Melanie friend of hers does not instantly go, you have lost your shit and need to check into a mental hospital. She's just like, well, okay, so what do you mean by zombie? And what they say a zombie is an unclean spirit that has passed on, then attaches itself to and takes over the body.
It's a possession.
It's a possession in all intents and purposes. Now, zombies become, or have been, in the Daybell teachings, the revelation, commonplace. Melanie said they talked about what they deemed as zombies all the time. Turns out, just prior to Charles dying, Chad called and told Lori that he had a revelation that Charles was a zombie.
Yeah.
And he not only called and told Lori that, he called and told Alex that, her brother that shot him. Now, when Melanie, this friend, reaches out to Alex to talk to him, like, what's going on with this zombie thing? Alex says, I believe that 100%. So Alex believed not only that you could become a
zombie,
possessed zombie, whatever it is, but that Charles was one, which may have incited his, I don't know, fear in that altercation that ended Charles' life.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, okay. Charles has been taken over by, he's been zombified by a guy named Ned Snyder. So Chad is so particular in telling this story, this revelation, that he even knows the name of the zombie that's taken over Charles.
Yeah, Ned Snyder is the ghost that's taken over Charles.
Right. And this is just like a Sunday afternoon conversation. Like, hey, did you hear that Charles has been taken over by an unclean spirit named Ned Snyder? And then the friend Melanie was like, really? Tell me more. Like, I don't get this.
Oh.
What is like the Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Chad also had he had a portal in his own home.
It was the closet portal. That's those that they could.
Lori had one where they could be together. Chad had one where he would receive revelation.
Her portal was when she was in Chandler, and his was up in Rexburg. So it was, it was a good 1,200-mile portal. That's a portal.
So, Lori, according to Melanie, tells Charles, hey, you're a zombie. Just like, hey, you're a zombie, explains it to him. This is when Charles files for the court asking for a psych evaluation. If we connect all the dots, it's because Lori had said, not only am I a translated being of powerful godlike light, but also you're a zombie. Now, Melanie asks Lori, her friend Melanie asks her about her evaluation. Lori says everything went great. Lots of people, according to Melanie, that were around Lori became zombies. And when Melanie asked her, why are all these people around you just like bad? Lori said, it's due to my exaltation.
Maybe it's because they made the mistake saying your Jell-O salad's a little bland today.
Yes. And
Your funeral potatoes could use a little more, cheddar.
This gets even weirder because Lori is reported to have told her friend Melanie that her and Chad knew how many zombies were in each state at any given time. And it was their goal to get rid of all of the zombies through prayer that killed the zombies. Now, this had a break with Melanie's ideology because she didn't believe that we should kill the zombies, but instead bring them to Christ.
Yes, Alex, zombies should be taken care of. Hold my gun. We're going to go pray about it.
So here's what they would do. They would identify the number of zombies in each state. They would go into the portal. They would say a special prayer. Boom, dead zombies. They would then do another check, and that's how they'd know how many zombies they killed. And they talked about this openly with their followers.
That's one thing. I want to know how many are out there. I want names. I want frequented restaurants. Because I want to avoid them. That would be ideal.
Lori also received revelation about Charles. So it was revealed to her that on his way down to pick up JJ that he would die in a traffic accident. When that didn't happen, of course, it was his agency. So instead, she called her brother to come and stay the night, and her brother shot him the next day.
I'm telling you, that was a planned event.
Yes. And then after Charles is shot, Lori and Melanie are very best friends.
And that's probably why the kids have to be, because the kids can't vouch for what was said.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lori waits 4 days before calling her very best friend. And when Melanie answers, Lori says, "So, did you hear what happened?" And Melanie's like, "No, what?" And she's like, "Alex shot Charles because he was a zombie." Melanie's like, "It was just so matter of fact. It was just so matter of fact. It was like she didn't even care." Now,
had zombies been brought up to Melanie before?
Yes.
So was she a believer in the zombies?
She was open to anything, as she says.
Jesus.
Now,
I've got some stuff.
Lori was under the assumption that she was going to get the $3 million.
I want to sell Melanie my bear repellent rock.
I know.
Melanie, if you listen to this, I have a bear repellent rock for sale. $15,000 bear repellent rock. And I promise you, I've never seen a bear in my yard.
So if we kind of stack these events up, it's revealed to Lori that Chad is a zombie. Chad dies very soon after.
Okay.
It's revealed to Lori that JJ is a zombie.
Oh, the poor little guy.
JJ's last known sight is very soon after. Now, Charles pulled a fast one, and he gave his sister his life insurance. So it was like 4 days after Charles died.
Charles was thinking ahead and took Lori off his life insurance and put his sister on it because she had been in and out of that marriage and gone.
Well, yeah, and she had threatened to kill him. She said he was she was the translated being of God or whatever.
Yeah.
So she goes to the insurance company just a couple days after Charles dies, and she takes a picture of the beneficiary page and sends it to Charles' sister, who is named on that page. And she said, "Funny, I've got all the kids, but Sister Kay gets all the money."
But the kids... Yeah.
Yeah. So They go on to, as people are starting to ask about the kids, you're hearing a bunch of different things, like they're here, they're there, they're here, they're there. But effectively what happens is after the police show up to do the welfare check, Chad calls this friend Melanie in a panic and says, if the police call, don't answer the phone. Lori's telling them that JJ's with you. And Melanie's like, where is JJ? And they said, bad people have been trying to get him, so we're keeping him safe.
Yeah.
So this friend Melanie is like,
Bad people had him.
Is like, well, it's kind of a bad place to put me into. I mean,
That's when she starts questioning everything.
Yes. So she reaches out to another friend who is very much LDS, but not a part of this 144,000 cult. And this other friend is basically saying, this doesn't make sense. And let me tell you, it's dripping with gospel. She's like, the adversary works in this way, and the Satan's doing this and that and this. Let's call it what it is. I don't know if these people actually believe this, or if they were just doing this as a ruse to get life insurance money.
Life insurance and like a fatal attraction to each other.
Fatal attraction to each other, exaltation, righteous obsession. I don't know what it is. So Melanie decides after, some deep, I don't know if she did repentance or what she did, but she decides that she's going to tell them everything. And still believes, and I quote, he is a good man. I'm just so thankful for this experience.
And she's a good woman.
And she is. And then the journalist asks her at one point, what would you say if Lori's listening? I love you. Oh, you're just so lost, and I know that you've been deceived. The adversary can be very deceiving. I'm like, what?
It is insane. It is insane.
Hell am I listening
watching
to?
this lady's interview at first, you're like, okay, this lady got caught up, but she's pulled herself back. She is chest deep in this still. She's a believer right now today. She believes that.
And she's so normal. People, we're not talking, you couldn't pick her out of a crowd. She is everybody's neighbor. She is everybody's Relief Society president. Man. She is everybody's grandma and great aunt. She's normal, and she totally, completely bought into this horse shit. Now, I think she's having this, what did she call it? A religious break in her theology, given that the kids are missing. Yeah. Yeah. I think
and when we say religious break in her theology, not a break from being LDS, but
just
break
a step back from being a zealot. From being
what should we call it? I don't know, the follower of God Lori-ism.
So here's my take on all of this. My 2 cents.
I want to go back over his prophecies, though, because this has me freaked out.
I know.
So he wrote this that book, and his prophecies were there would be in 2020.
In 2020,
July 22nd, right?
July 22nd is end of days.
The end of days. The end of days is coming quick. We got about a little over a month to sort this out. First, the 2020 will start with
earthquakes.
Boom. Check.
Giant hailstorms. Check. They were all over the United States.
Okay. Inner city strife and buildings being burned down. Inner city on fire. Check. And
microchip implants.
Microchip implants. That's getting to be an idea right now. It's being tossed around.
Check.
And then martial law being declared. Is our government and the people, are they followers too?
I'm so scared.
Is Antifa a part of this religion?
Is Donald Trump one of the 144,000?
Yeah, or that Chauvin
guy.
That police officer Chauvin.
Chauvin, what if he is? He's been
Oh.
exalted.
Man,
What if
so
George Floyd is?
when I heard about the earthquakes and all that, I was like, what? Because we had those earthquakes in March. We had all these things kind of tumbling down. So
my 2 cents. If you currently teach a large group of people a doctrine that is borderline nutso, BANANAS, bananas, then it is not that big a jump for a couple of outliers to take it one step further. And I will tell you, love all religions, but all of them have crazy stuff that they believe in, crazy things that they're required to do. And it is not that big of a stretch for someone who has been indoctrinated to believe in nutso shit their entire life to go, I'm going to take it one
what
little
if
step
in the
further.
future a new religion like Christianity was started off, if you're just going to go off what's known, was started off a Jewish preacher, then it became, what if in the future there are brown buildings with steeples and you walk in and there's a picture of Lori painted on it?
That's what I'm saying. What if that has happened in other planets, in other lives already?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not one of the buck 44.
Well, I don't know what the qualifications are because it doesn't explain that.
Yeah.
Apparently, the qualifications are you have to follow them.
Yeah.
Step one.
or be a movie star, celebrity.
Yeah. Step one. It's nuts. At the end of it, I know that we make fun of.
And this boils down. It was started. The hailstorm, the shithole was started on a podcast.
Yes. The universes collided.
It's insane.
On a podcast. So at the center of all of this, there are many, we still don't know the head count, but many people that were killed for the sake of this religion. Tell me,
was it for
every
this
religion does this?
I think no, they were killed so that Lori and Chad could
is it
could
just
push up on each other in a biblical manner?
But is it just for that, or is it a little bit of everything?
Come on, the people that were actually killed were so that they could secure their happiness.
Tylee and JJ.
That's so they could secure their happiness.
What do you think? Maybe they were interfering?
They wouldn't even have to interfere. Okay, let's put it this way. Let's say they kept them around. They couldn't gallivant all over and attend the weddings in Vegas or go to Hawaii. And if they gave them to grandma, they would probably have to pay some kind of support. And I imagine his cell phone publishing crazy books aren't that great. Though on Goodreads, it did get 4 out of 5 stars. On Amazon, only 2. But Goodreads, you're crazy.
That's where we find his followers. We need to go to the reviews. That's how we know who's following him.
It'll be like looking up the pedophile thing where it shows you where they live.
Yeah. You
I
find
want to
out
know
it's your neighbor.
Where do the Goodreads reviewers live?
Yes.
I got one on my street. Shit, I got to move.
It's sad. I feel bad for the families.
I feel terrible for the family,
all the
especially
families
those children.
Yeah. All the families involved. When craziness is allowed to just run rampant, this is what happens. This is what happens. And honestly, they could probably both use a mental health defense. I hope they don't. But let's be honest. They've both earned a mental health defense because as far back as anyone has ever known him, he's always started the conversation with the same old shit.
Yeah, and they were
I knew you in the pre-existence.
They were both very likable people.
Everyone loved him.
Yeah, both of them. That's what you hear, that they were everyone. I mean, I'm sure except for, dead spouses and spouses' families. But other than that.
At least when they first met him, they loved him.
Yeah.
Then if you didn't step in line, you didn't like them much or thought they were crazy. But they still have a big following. I'm interested to see. Yeah. I bet it'll be crickets from their following. Because of the news.
But are they going to become martyrs now for their following?
Here's what their following was saying clear up until just a couple days ago, is that good people can be taken over and used by the adversary for bad.
Zombies.
They were the zombies.
Good God. All right. All right.
Anyway.
Well, that's the show. Betsy's got to run. Dozer's starting to tell me the show's over.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. If any more, this is an open case still. We've got to find out.
It's more solid now than it's ever been.
And she's still in court, and she's had her mouth shut. Hadn't said anything. But now that the bodies are found, maybe that's her finally giving up. Chad, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
He just got arrested, so he's pulled in. I'm sure they're going to be looking for who was the paintball mask guy.
You want me to? I'm going to guess. I'm just going to put this out there. This is my prediction. Both of those idiots are going to blame it on Alex because Alex is not here to defend himself. And he has a terrible criminal record.
Did Alex die before those or after those? After. So, yeah, they're going to pin that on Alex. Of course, it may be another follower. We may be looking at, 142,000 more kooks. Is 142,000 or
144,000? Yeah.
So we may be looking
138,998.
Or 139,998. No, 997 because Alex is gone.
Yes.
What if it's that Gibb lady?
What?
She looks like your average Mormon later. Like she would maybe be grinding on the organ in church. Oh yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Any comments or whatever else, reach out to us here on Facebook or on our website, or those of you that know
all the
us,
stuffs,
just give us a call or whatever. But yeah, it's that's a fun.
If anything
fun,
crazy
interesting
is worth updating, we'll update. I'm guessing that from here it's going to be the slog of the justice system.
Yeah,
and
then we'll definitely do a follow up on that.
Yeah, give an update on sentencing,
or maybe they'll get the Epstein treatment. They'll commit suicide in jail, and then we'll never hear about it again.
Sad,
because obviously Trump and Antifa are in on it. That's my solution. They're bringing about the end times. But yeah, it's time to go. As everyone can see that's watching this, the 2-pound demon is awake now and wants to bite and fight.
Yeah, she needs her support animal back.
Yes. All right. Thanks for joining us, and
we'll
see you next week.